Hello everybody. It's white to play in this position. So while I'm introducing today's subject, please take your time and find a good plan for white. Today we are discussing the art of exchanging pieces. I made a Chessable course about this, and I will explain to you why this is a very important subject that we should carefully study. There are three big reasons. First, every game has an exchange, right? Every single chess game features piece trades. So the frequency of occurrence is high. If you really internalize lessons today, there's a high chance that you will apply those in your games. That should be the goal of our training in general, right? Second, exchanges are very committal decisions in chess. It's irreversible. Once the pieces leave the board, you cannot take them back, right? So it's a very committal decision. That's why we must be very careful in studying piece trades. And the final reason why studying piece trades is very important is that we are forming connections, because piece trades, they are always connecting to some other parts of the game. Today we'll see, for example, how piece trades connect to attack, how piece trades connect to weaknesses in the position, right? Good pieces, bad pieces. You're forming connections, and thus it leads to conceptual understanding, which will lead to long-lasting learning, folks. Right? So these were the reasons why I created this course on Chessable. It's a multi-purpose course, and today I will show you the gist of that course. I will show you the main lessons from that course and how it's structured. White to play, look at the king. That's a weak king. White is attacking chances. Why? Because of those weaknesses. And also, what is the most important thing in this position? It's kings castling on opposite flanks, right? So we have to go for an attack on the king side. We have a beautiful queen and bishop battery, but there's one piece that is holding the entire position together, right? So, what is the move? Congratulations, folks, if you found the move knight e4. This knight on c3 was not doing anything, and suddenly you challenge that knight, which is the main defender of the black king. Black's position collapses as a result of a single trade, and that's a beautiful part of exchanging pieces, because they are very forcing moves, right? You're really forcing this trade and thus obtain a winning position. Queen h7 is a huge threat. We can talk about some other moves. Bishop c3 is a beautiful move. The final piece joins the attack. Also, you open the rook, right? Multi-purpose move, and the position collapses. Takes. There are many ways. You can even simply take this queen and win the endgame, right? But there's also this variation, queen h7 check, followed by rook takes d7, and white wins. Going back, folks, how do we find such moves, knight d4? By carefully understanding the situation, by asking ourselves good questions. What am I playing for? I'm playing for an attack. Can I intensify my attack? Yes, I can, by simply going for a piece trade in exchanging my bad knight for the good knight, and that, cuts the Gordian knot in the most beautiful and efficient manner. Every opening features piece trades. There are some pieces that you generally want to trade off against the enemy pieces. For example, here, we are searching for a good plan for black. Please take your time, stop the video, and find a good plan for black. Folks, congratulations if you look at your bishop on d7. That's really a terrible piece, right? A bad French bishop. That's a French pawn structure, by the way. And you see the bishop on d3. That's a beautiful piece. Thus, which move is very logical for black? Yes, simply bishop b5, and you're exchanging off your bad bishop for the enemy good bishop. That's a beautiful trade, so logical to explain and understand, and that's the strength of this course, because you're forming connections. You always explain to yourself, why am I exchanging this piece, right? This way of learning material will give you long-lasting learning. You will keep this knowledge probably for the rest of your life, because it's very difficult to forget such things, because the beautiful connection, why questions, it's only about understanding, of course, right? Bad pieces and good pieces. And I hope you can establish that, because that's a very important skill, yeah, that we should breed as amateurs when we are starting chess. This is a very important skill to even understand, right? Which piece is bad, which piece is good. Once you understand this, bishop b5 must come like a very natural candidate for you, right? And black is solving the problem, and black obtains an equal position. In the last example, we saw how we can trade our bad pieces. You can apply the same lesson and you can ask yourself, can I exchange off one of the good enemy pieces, right? It's the same logic. The other side of the same coin. Here's black to move, folks. I want you to stop the video and formulate a good plan for black involving a piece trade. I want you to look at the entire board, ask yourself questions. Which enemy piece is a good one? Can I exchange it off? Congratulations, folks. If you looked at this knight on d6, that's white's only good piece, in fact. And you looked at your knight on c5, and you found the move knight b7. That's a beautiful retreat, totally about trading off the only good piece for white. And white's position collapses. Why? Because look at the white bishop, right? That's a buried piece. The king is also limited. Black is a beautiful, protected pass pawn on c3. So this bishop is dead. It's just a tall pawn. And the only piece that is alive for white, and that's a good piece, is a knight on d6. So by simply forcing the trade, because you're really forcing it, right? The knight is pinned. You achieve your goal. You're suddenly like playing with an extra piece almost, right? You're removing the only piece that is good for the enemy and leaving them with a terrible piece on a1. And that's a great lesson, strategic lesson. If the enemy has a very, very poor piece, like this bishop on a1, right? Usually, all the piece trades are favoring you. Think about that, right? Just logically. You want to isolate and leave them with only this terrible piece on the board, right? So again, we are forming connections. We are asking why questions. And then you understand the strength of this move. It's actually a game of Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces. It's one of those games that Magnus found himself in a terrible bind. It doesn't happen occasionally. So in this game, Magnus lost with the white pieces, but this knight b7 move was a really, crushing move, really the key move that gave black a strategic advantage. Talking about the universality of piece trades, you can apply it also in endgame. It's white to play here, folks. Please take your time, start the video, and find a good move for white. Here, white's an extra pawn, the same color bishops. So, generally, right, piece trades favor white because a pure pawn endgame would be winning for white. Extra pawn are usually decisive in pawn endgames. So, congratulations. If you found the move bishop d3, that's a very, very forcing move because by hitting the bishop on b5, also indirectly on the pawn on a6, you are forcing this piece trade. And thus, you are transitioning into a pawn endgame, which is winning for you. We can look at some lines. King c6, right? Takes. You can go g4. King a4, king c4, right? And it's already zugzwang for black. The black king must give way. And then comes b5. You see how easy it is for white to win the resulting position. After bishop d3, if black takes on d3, nothing changes because here you can go g4, again put black into zugzwang, and then your king will improve, you'll play b5, and the game is over, right? So again, when you go back to this position, this bishop d3 comes very natural to grandmasters. They see these moves instantly, right? Because of their expertise, because of their experience. But it's an extremely logical move that I can explain this move to you in logical terms. It makes perfect sense. You use exchange as a weapon, right? It's a very forcing move. And you thus transition to a winning pawn endgame. Thus, you ease your task, right? This is the most technical way for white to win this position. And exchanges are used to help your goal. It's a game of semi-slow with the white pieces. We are searching for the best move for white. Here, white has an exchange, extra exchange, material advantage. But still, we need to find good moves to win the game in the most technical way. Look at the whole board and please formulate a good move and good plan for white. Folks, semi-slow played rook c3, a beautiful move, because white has a copy of those rooks, right? White has two rooks and black is only a single one. So usually when that's the case, trading off a pair of rooks is helping you, right? Because you already have a copy of this piece, but black is only a single rook. You also, of course, intensify your material advantage. When you have a material advantage, usually, not always, but usually, piece trades are helping you because you simplify the game further, right? And here, of course, this rook was more active than this rook, and this also makes perfect sense, right? This trade. So white is challenging the c-file, takes back with the queen, an amazing knight on d5, and this rook disappeared. And white simply achieved a winning position. So that's the lesson, right? Again, just we see that how material advantage connects to piece trade, but I can explain to you again in very logical terms why this piece trade is extremely logical and easy to understand for white. Finally, let's talk about piece trades and long-term weaknesses in the position. It's white to play here, folks. I want you to stop the video and find a good plan for white. It's a game of Botvinnik. Folks, first of all, I'm sure you noticed this d6 pawn, right? That's a protected pass pawn. That's a long-lasting advantage for white in itself. Black has a weakness on a5 and also a weakness on c5. Black's only active piece is the queen on c6. So once you look at all these things, you generally understand, right? Usually endgames are great for white because of these advantages, long-lasting advantages. But also notice how weak this pawn would become if this queen would disappear as well, right? That's an organic weakness. That's a long-term weakness for black, and that could be easily exploited in the endgame. And thus, Botvinnik went, can you guess it? Queen g2. That's a beautiful move, folks. Really forcing this piece trade, exchanging off black's only active piece, and suddenly, right, this pawn is in trouble. Also, this pawn has become weak. Rook a1 is coming, will put more pressure on a5. There's already tremendous pressure on c5, and black's position collapses in its own weight. In fact, black just lost the pawn on c5 and ended up in a lost position, lost endgame without any counterplay, right? So once you also internalize these things, like these organic weaknesses, long-term weaknesses can be easily exploited in an endgame. Usually, right, piece trades are helping you to intensify your advantage. Plus is in this case multi-purpose move, of course, because the queen was the only active piece as mentioned. You see how we are forming connections. We are combining what we learned today and applying it to this position. So that's why, it's called the art of exchanging pieces. If you look at the world champions, Botvinnik, Smyslov, Petrosyan, they were virtuoso, exchange virtuoso. Botvinnik sometimes, one day said to Tal, you're just, suffering these crazy calculations after calculations. You could have just traded off those pieces and achieved an easily winning endgame, right? That's how he was analyzing one of Tal's games. And Tal actually, that made a huge effect on Tal. He actually wrote in his book that Botvinnik's vision was much more different. Like he just looks at this, strategic factors, and he simplifies his task by exchanging the right pieces and leaving them in a winning position. And I will leave you with this homework position, folks. Knight f7 was black's last move. The question is, should we take on f7? Should we let black in taking on e5? Or should we retreat the knight to d3? Okay? So you have three choices, let's say. Let them take on e5 or knight d3. It's a stonewall pawn structure. I want you to look at good pieces, bad pieces, but also weaknesses in the position, right? For example, we have an outpost on e5. That's a weak square. So how does this reflect on our decision of this piece trade, right? I want you to analyze, ask yourself those questions from connections and come up with a move, but also explain to me on YouTube why you chose that move, okay? Folks, if you want to pursue the subject, explore it more, please check my course on Chessable. I will post the link on this video description. I put my heart and soul into it. That was my first ever Chessable course, and I really truly believe in the depth and the value of it. I also got great feedback from people. You can read the reviews on Chessable. Every game features exchanges. Exchanges are one of the most committal decisions in chess. They are irreversible, and studying exchanges gives us tremendous opportunity to learn more about chess and have a true and deeper understanding of chess. If you like this video, please give me a like and subscribe, and please don't hesitate in asking any questions. If you get my course on Chessable, it will make me happy, and I will take it from there. I will talk about other strategic operations and show you the true beauty of chess. Thank you so much.